All right, so listen. Again, not a typical video that you're used to from me, but this time we're going to talk a little bit closer to home about what we talk about, right? So instead of talking about games and socializing around games and connection around games, today I want to talk a little bit about companies. There is a sentiment that I think that we all no longer believe, which is a good thing. That is, companies are a family, right? That's a lot of small companies really kind of had that feeling where they're going to talk about, you know, we're a family, we're all in this together, blah blah blah. And I think that we have gone away from that, and that's a very positive thing because companies are not families, uh, in any way, shape, or form. Though they are dysfunctional in a lot of ways, and many families are. The thing that I want to talk about today is the fact that a company, while not a family and not maybe what we typically think of along this line, a company is a community. And I've been doing a lot of community work for a long while at this point. I did community work around building communities of practice with things like the Memphis Web Workers, which is actually having a resurgence in Memphis, which I think really, really great, as well as community work organizing hackathons, as well as my professional life doing community work at various startups, and in fact working for Orbit, where we talked a lot about building communities as our community of practice there. And my favorite thing that I used to like to talk about at Orbit was that no matter what, you have a community. Whether you're a company with a product, or whether you are a locality, a neighborhood, a city, a state, even a country, perhaps, there a community forms up around you in some way. Whether you are a community because you're all in the same group of houses, or you're a community because you all use the same products, or you're an actual like found community where you're all working towards learning something together or something like that. The key is that no matter what, there's a community. Whether you work towards making it a good community, or whether you ignore that as an aspect and just let the community happen, you have a community. So in your company life, if you ignore the aspects of the company as a community, you will have a bad community. And this is the same with any community work, right? If you just build up a group of people and you don't treat them, and you don't work towards communication, and you don't work towards a healthy community, you will have a bad community. And so when we think of companies, we don't think of the company as a community. Maybe there's community work happening at the company, like as DevRels do. We build community around product, around the company itself. That's the external community, right? That's that work. And that's different work than building a functional community inside of your company. And what that means is, let's assume that your company is greater than 10 people, right? This probably doesn't matter at a company of 5 or 6 people in like the drastically early days of a startup. What this really matters for is when you are scaling up, when you're going from beyond that 10-person company into a company that is in the 50s, 60s. And then as you get into the hundreds, then we have other community issues where you actually have multiple communities. And in fact, in a company, we do have an idea of multiple communities, right? It is the idea of teams, of departments, of whatever you want to call them in your company, whatever level of company you're at, you're probably going to call them a different word. But each of those teams constitutes its own small community, and there are good and bad practices for that. And then those communities themselves form up into a bigger one. Really, when you look at it, it's almost like independent states or dependent states in a country, or provinces, or whatever we are talking about in whatever country we're talking about. The idea is that to have this be healthy, you need to focus not on the metrics and the deliverables and those types of things. To work on this as a true leader should, you need to focus on building a strong internal community, a community that will withstand multiple things, a community that will self organize, a community that will create of its own nature the types of metrics and deliverables that you as a leader want. And we do that by forming up community, not necessarily around tasks, around instead values, around the ideas that bring us together. Now, at a company, those ideas could just be, hey, I need to make money, right? I need to support my family. But in startup land, in tech land, that's honestly not usually what's going to be the case. What's going to be the case is, yes, absolutely, we want to make money. We want to have stability for our families. But what's probably also the case is that we care about the product. Usually we're not going to be at a startup or a tech company without caring about the types of work that we're doing. And to do that, it's not about the task. It's about the clarity of the vision. It's about bringing these people together in a meaningful way as a community. Communities form up around these visions. And if you don't have a clearly defined vision or mission for the company, and you don't have it for the teams, and you don't have it for the individuals or the roles, it becomes a problem. It's something where everyone is out for themselves. So there's a misconception about the way that evolution worked for humanity. The misconception I want to talk about is that evolution is about the survival of the fittest. If you're not strong enough to survive, you won't, and you shouldn't. And I don't subscribe to that necessarily, but also when we look at the emergence of humanity as a dominant life form, it is not that we are the strongest creature. It's not even necessarily that we were the smartest creature, although our brain did play a huge role in that. It is that we were social creatures and that we banded together and formed strong bonds. So I would almost argue that the company that has the best individual contributors will not succeed over a team of pretty good individual contributors that are formed up around an internal community that really builds upon itself. Each individual team and all of the individuals on those teams need to work together and don't need to be put at odds. And a lot of what we see in the way that business metrics work and tracing value through a company, all of those mechanisms, those metrics are meant to put us at odds, are meant to have this idea of the survival of the fittest. And while that's how maybe you get the new contributor for your team, the new full-time equivalency hire on your team to prove that your team is the one that's driving this revenue, that's not a long-term sustainable thing for the company. The company that you're a part of is a community, and the community has to work together to survive and to thrive. A company can make it work without that. A company is not going to thrive in a state where it's anarchy or survival of the actual fittest. The only way it's going to survive and grow and flourish is as one organism working together with multiple functions, one community, one set of social creatures that are tied together by this underlying goal and by these missions and visions for the teams.